Hi everybody, welcome to episode 22 of the boat restoration. It's Ade here from Skidmore second-hand tyres. I've just been and bought myself a welding mask. The one I had for years and it was getting a bit knackered. So I thought I'd get one of these new fancy ones that goes dark when you strike the arc. And I haven't tried it out yet, but it goes dark against the lights and it's nice and clear to see through when it's not dark, so striking an arc shouldn't be that hit or miss affair that it normally is for me. And I'm going to be using this later on during the build of the trailer. I've made the two plates up that enable me to bolt the U-bolts to hold the spine on, and I fitted them just dry on this offcut of the scaffold pole. And when I fitted it up to test it all, I found that you can actually adjust the angle of the pole against the cross member to make it square by loosening and tightening opposite nuts on the U-bolts, which is quite handy because it was all done, measured up and drilled to a centre line, but obviously there's still little vagaries that you need to adjust out, so that's something I thought would happen, but I now know it does happen. And I shall cut some of the thread off, leaving enough to get some nylock nuts on there as well to doubly keep it tight. I'm going to leave this here for a bit because it is quite heavy and unwieldy at the moment. So I'll just keep it here on the bench until I come to strip it down. Got some measuring up to do for it. I got this package the other day, which I ordered from a shop on eBay, which has got trailer parts in it. And I'm going to unbox it now. I think there's a bit left to come, some brackets left to come, but how we go with these. Oh no, brackets here as well. Good, nice and sturdy. And fit in there. Rollers, rolling steel rollers. And these are the bilge rollers. Go with them. No invoice with it. So you go in there like that. Make that adjustable somehow. There we go. And they'll go on. Obviously this is up the wrong way. They'll go on there with these rollers for the bilge runners. Nice and solid and chunky. As are the rollers. All the ones on the old trailer are a little bit lightweight compared to these, so that's good. Nice. Well, that's got the bilge rollers onto the trailer cross member. There's only 4 holes to drill, and they're very straightforward to fit. One thing I found with making this trailer is that everything you add to it really makes it heavy. Those suspension units made it very awkward to move around and quite hard to balance as well. These rollers aren't too bad, but even the scaffold pole that I used to fit the U-bolts onto the cross member made it extremely heavy and unwieldy. And there are some things I've got to do now which involve putting other things back on again, and of course once they're on you've got to sort of like mark out and then take it all off so you can put it in the drill press to drill the next lot of holes. So it's a case of deciding what next you need to put on and what you need to put on in order to sight the new thing. In this case it's going to be working out where to put the bracket on each end for holding the mud guards onto the wheels. So that may even include putting the suspension units on, then the hubs, and then the wheels, so that I can work out where I need to put a bracket, or what sort of bracket even to make up to put on to hold the mud guards on. And then there's also a loop on each end which will be for holding the ratchet strap to strap the boat to the trailer for transit. This is one of the stub axles for the trailer. There's a machined part there, and then there's one roller bearing that goes on there. Then the stub axle goes on like that. And there's a second tapered roller bearing which goes on in there like that, get it nice and square. There you go. And then the washer. I castellated that. It screws down to crimp up the bearing. It's a 24mm bolt, a nut rather, 24mm nut, and that's put on. That's tightened up now, so it's not very easy to turn. And then there's a hole. Slacken it off. so that we get a hole lined up with the castle. Let's see if we can get that. See if you can see that. There you go. Sorry to move you around. And then put a split pin in to secure it, stop it from coming undone. And then I'm going to put the wheel on just for a dry run, but the race needs to be filled with grease, and there is a grease nipple just there. It's easier to fit them and then grease them afterwards, I've found, from working on old cars, and it's a lot less messy and a lot easier to work with them. You don't get grease all over the place, so that's what I do. And I know it's going to be packed up with grease because it's going to be squeezing out all over the place around the roller bearings. On the tyre there's a little notch there for the grease nipple as well, and obviously you've got to make sure that you put the wheel on with the valve outwards. Goes without saying, it's a rookie mistake to put it on the other way. Not that I've ever done it myself. And there's a way up for these to go as well. They're tapered on one side to go into the holes on the tapered holes on the wheel. Right, let's get this baby on the floor to see what she's like. Well, there we go. As I said earlier, it's adding a lot of weight. It's getting heavier and heavier. In some ways I think that's a really good thing, because it means that there's a lot of low down weight below the boat. Should keep the trailer nice and steady, and that can only be a good thing, really. Well, now the bits arrived today. Let's get this open. Very nice. There were jockey wheels of all shapes and sizes, even some electric ones. And this wasn't the cheapest, but it was about the second cheapest one, I think. Under 20 quid delivered. So that ain't bad. It's a nice chunky bit of kit. Definitely. Free to swivel. I've put this bar on, ready to start deciding where to cut to bend it so that it runs out to the wheel. and then bend it round for the wheel arch, the mudguard, and it suddenly occurred to me that if I was to do it that way round, any cuts that I make I can close up and weld up, and it'll make it stronger rather than cutting it and then bending it back so it's opening up and then having to weld it up that way or let in some more metal. So I think I'm going to do that. Originally I thought it would be easier to keep clean the other way, but I don't think it's going to make much difference either way. So I'm going to swap these over so that they go that way, and then I can make the cuts and make some V-notches and then bend and weld up the angle to make them stronger. And then when I bend it round to bolt the wheel arch to, I can weld that as well. Right, well, I've marked up and bent one of the sides, cut and bent it, and to make sure I get the same on the other side, I bolted them together. Ooh, keep losing the camera. I bolted them together, and I'm going to bend this one now. So I put this bit of plate in the vise just to give myself something to hold it to, and then I'm going to bend it to match. Too far. That's good enough. And the other side. Go as much. I see I've got to open up that cut a little bit because it's not going to bend all the way in. I don't know if the breeze is going to interfere with this soundtrack, but I've marked off the ends and where to cut for the brackets to go round the mud guards to bolt on, and also adjusted that bend so it's all nice and even now between the two. So I'm going to cut them both together. Hopefully that will be okay. Well, that's the first real welding I've done for 20 odd years. I taught myself to weld when I was on the tunnel, and I haven't done any arc welding for donkeys, and it shows, but I'm happy with that. It's good training for the other welding I've got to do on the trailer. and the battery light is coming on, so I'm afraid I think I'm going to leave it there for now on a cliff edge. In the meantime, thanks for watching, thanks for all your comments as always. It's really nice and encouraging, and sometimes I need that encouragement. So I think that wraps it up for today. I'll just say cheerio, thanks for watching and for commenting as always, and for subscribing as well. It's a real fillip to know whilst you're working on your own somewhere in your shed, in your garage, that people are supporting you like they are. Thanks everyone.